Tonight, the anger and anguish in Kansas City.
It feels like a bad dream.
Our interview with the family of the popular radio host killed at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Plus the new details as police ask for the public's help. And we learn that half of the gunshot victims are under the age of 16.
They took away his mother, his best friend. She did everything for them.
The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being here. We are learning new details about what led to that mass shooting that turned the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade from celebration to carnage. Police say it was not terrorism, but an argument between several people that resulted in an outburst of gunfire. The two people taken into custody are teenagers. Criminal charges are expected tomorrow. One person was killed and 22 others injured, and 2 of them remain in critical condition. We're also learning the identity of the woman who died on the scene, 43-year-old Lisa Lopez Galvan. She was a mother of 2 and a popular radio DJ. Her family describes her as a big fan of the Chiefs. She was there celebrating the team's title with her husband and adult son. Police also want to speak with people who were in the area about what they saw, and they're asking to see any cell phone video from the rally. CBS's Charlie DeMar reports from Kansas City.
As investigators now process a massive crime scene, the people of Kansas City are trying to process how a family-friendly Super Bowl celebration destroyed so many lives in an instant. Lisa Lopez Galvan, local radio personality, was there with several family members. Her son was shot. She was killed.
There's an initial shock, and it feels like a bad dream.
We spoke today with her sister and brother.
Can you walk me through sort of the totality of how this impacts your family?
Our faith is what has helped us from the moment we knew. She brought us all together immediately. So how are we going to get through this? It's together.
The shooting victims include 9 children, the youngest just 8 years old.
We all train for this. We're all prepared to take care of these children, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's still not normal for people to see many, many people wounded by gunshots.
Police are tight-lipped about the 2 suspects still in custody. Video shows one person with a gun being tackled by a group, including Trey Filter.
The entire time we were holding him down, people are yelling, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. When he was tackled, the gun fell.
That weapon appears to be a large semi-automatic rifle. This type of shooting now all too common. 60% of mass shootings occur in everyday places, churches, theaters, grocery stores, or at celebrations. Left behind, images of yet another community struggling to heal.
You hear about this nationally often, sadly. And no, we did not expect the day to end like this.
This shooting has some communities and families questioning whether attending outdoor public gatherings are safe. Here at the Super Bowl parade, there were about 800 police officers for 1 million spectators. The mayor here in Kansas City vowing to move forward, including hosting next month's St. Patrick's Day parade. Nora?
People should be able to celebrate. Charlie DeMar, thank you. Now to a court hearing in Atlanta that could threaten the future of Georgia's election interference case against former President Donald Trump. Fulton District Attorney Fani Willis, the prosecutor overseeing the case, fiercely denied that a personal romance with a colleague presented a conflict of interest. CBS's Nicole Killian reports on the salacious and dramatic details.
It is a lie. It is a lie.
In an intense hearing,
Don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
the tables were turned on Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who took the stand for the first time in the same courtroom where she typically prosecutes defendants.
So I would ask you to not yell at me.
With several of the co-defendants in the 2020 election interference case looking on and former President Trump weighing in on social media, Willis defended her personal relationship with Nathan Wade, a special prosecutor on her team.
You think I'm on trial? These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
The hearing was prompted by a complaint from co-defendant Michael Roman. A former Trump official, his attorneys, plus another representing Trump want Willis removed from the case because they say the relationship shows a financial conflict of interest. Willis denied being in a relationship with Wade before he was hired to join the team investigating Trump in November 2021.
And it's highly offensive when they try to implicate that you slept with somebody the first day you met with them, and I take exception to it.
But a former friend and colleague of Willis contradicted that account under questioning.
You have no doubt that their romantic relationship was in effect from 2019 until the last time you spoke with her?
No doubt.
The attorneys allege Willis personally benefited from her involvement with Wade and was paid more than $650,000 by Willis's office as the pair took lavish trips to California, Florida, and the Caribbean. Willis insisted she reimbursed Wade for the trips.
I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Willis is expected to testify again Friday. If a judge determines that there was a conflict or any wrongdoing, Willis and Wade could be disqualified from the 2020 election case, or it could be moved to another jurisdiction, which could further delay the proceedings. Nora?
Nicole Killian with all the details. Thank you. A date is now set for the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president. Just over a month from today, on March 25th, Donald Trump will be in a courtroom. And this case is related to the hush money payments made to porn star Stormy Daniels. CBS's chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins me now. All right, a lot about Trump and the courts, but let's start with this one. It's going to happen in the middle of the campaign. What impact will it have?
Nora, good evening. It could have a significant impact because former President Trump will be expected to be here at this courthouse every day for his criminal trial, which is expected to last about 6 weeks. That'll come just as he's likely going to want to ramp up his general election battle against President Joe Biden. For Republicans nationwide, this is a complicating political factor, and some of them tell me behind the scenes they're worried that Trump's going to be answering questions about hush money payments to a porn star, and they now face the possibility of a felon being atop the GOP ticket later this year. Still, Trump sources tell me that Trump supporters will rally behind him, and they can cast the prosecutors as illegitimate in the eyes of at least Republicans. Nora?
It's just heating up. Robert Costa, thank you so much. Space may soon become the next battlefield, and concerns about that new type of warfare is on the rise, with the U.S. government revealing it has intelligence that Russia is developing a nuclear weapon to target U.S. satellites. CBS's Ed O'Keefe has more from the White House.
The White House confirms Russia's developing a way to destroy U.S. satellites circling the Earth.
Though Russia's pursuit of this particular capability is troubling, there is no immediate threat to anyone's safety. We are not talking about a weapon that can be used to attack human beings or cause physical destruction here on Earth.
Is it a nuclear weapon, a nuclear-powered weapon, or a nuclear-capable weapon?
I'm not going to be able to go into any more detail.
But National Security spokesman John Kirby said what Russia is doing would violate a 1967 treaty banning the deployment of nuclear weapons beyond the atmosphere. The weaponization of space is a favorite Hollywood plotline.
We're concerned the Soviets might be trying to introduce a new weapon.
But Samantha Vinograd, a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism, says we're not there yet.
It is more likely that Russia is involved in research and development to get to a certain capability. Russia demonstrating that kind of capability would put it ahead in terms of global arms race.
Biden administration officials briefed top House lawmakers behind closed doors today about the emerging threat.
They're going to remain in close contact with leaders of Congress on the issue, and it will be dealt with.
It was Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner who first revealed it.
We all came away with a very strong impression that the administration is taking this very seriously and that the administration has a plan in place.
But at least one Republican congressman is calling for an investigation into why Chairman Turner first revealed the Russian threat, saying he showed, quote, reckless disregard by doing so. The White House said it didn't want the information initially released this way and promises to keep the public informed. Nora?
Really interesting. Ed O'Keefe from the White House, thank you. Breaking news in the special counsel case into Hunter Biden. The Justice Department just unsealing charges against an FBI informant accused of lying about alleged ties between President Biden, his son, and a Ukrainian energy company. The informant told FBI agents that in June of 2020 that executives with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma paid the Bidens $5 million each in 2015 and 2016. Federal prosecutors now say that was a lie. Republicans tried to use the claims as evidence in a bribery investigation into President Biden and his family. Israeli forces raided a hospital in southern Gaza today, saying Hamas held hostages there and that their remains could still be inside. The director of the hospital in Khan Yunis calls the assault catastrophic. We get details from CBS's Holly Williams in Israel.
Israeli special forces stormed Nasser Hospital today, calling the operation precise. Israel claims Hamas held hostages at the hospital complex and says it found grenades and mortar shells during the raid. Hamas denies using hospitals for military purposes. This man says 2 patients were killed in the attack, though we cannot confirm that. Israel's also pressing ahead with plans to launch a ground assault in Rafah, where around 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering. Israel says it'll allow civilians to leave the battle zone, but the United Nations has warned an offensive could lead to a slaughter. Mohammed and Alia El-Basyouni stayed in Gaza City during 4 months of bombardment, despite an Israeli order to evacuate. They stayed put, they told us, because they were too elderly to leave on foot like thousands of others. Their son Loe is a US citizen who lives in Los Angeles and helped design a robotic helicopter for NASA used on Mars.
My dad had heart condition, there was nobody to help him. He couldn't breathe. My mom thought he was dying.
He was finally able to get them out of Gaza last week, though on the first attempt, they say, their convoy of ambulances came under fire.
Were there many times when your mum and dad thought they wouldn't survive?
Every minute.
Israel says it apprehended dozens of suspects in the hospital area, Nora, and it accuses some of them of taking part in the October 7th attack.
Holly Williams in Israel, thank you. The U.S. military just revealed it intercepted 200 packages containing ballistic missile parts, drones, and explosives. U.S. Central Command says the lethal aid was on its way from Iran to a militia in Yemen known as the Houthis. For this Sunday, 60 Minutes, we go inside the U.S. Navy's battle to protect global commerce and its own ships from Houthi attacks as the first journalist to visit the Red Sea since the crisis began. Could the Houthis do this without Iranian support?
No. For a decade, the Iranians have been supplying the Houthis. They've been resupplying them. They're resupplying them as we sit here right now. At sea, we know this is happening. They're advising them and they're providing targeting information. This is crystal clear.
Are there members of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard Corps that are actually on the ground in Yemen providing intelligence and targeting?
The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is inside Yemen and they are serving side by side with the Houthis, advising them and providing targeting information.
That is some news, and we are also just learning tonight that the U.S. conducted a cyber attack against an Iranian spy ship in the Red Sea that has been providing intelligence for the Houthis. Well, you can see our full report from the Red Sea this Sunday on 60 Minutes. The new mayor of Miami Beach is laying down the law ahead of spring break. We've got the new restrictions. That's next. It's almost that time of the year for the annual tradition of spring break. But this year, one popular Florida destination is hoping to cut down on the rowdy crowds. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez reports why the new rules are not without controversy.
Miami Beach is hoping to leave the shootings and unruly crowds of previous spring breaks in the past.
It'll be difficult to get here into our city, and once you get here, the expectation is you play by rules.
Newly elected Mayor Stephen Miner cites 2 deaths last year.
It's not just bad for our businesses, it's bad for our residents, it's bad for our tourists.
I have a responsibility as mayor to keep everyone safe.
Over the month of March last year, there were nearly 500 arrests and more than 100 firearms seized. This year, the city's new rules for its busiest March weekends include raising some parking prices to $100, adding security checkpoints and bag checks at some beach entrances, and closing liquor stores at 8 p.m.
The thing is completely unfair.
Marcelo Avalos of Gulf Liquor says the new rules unfairly target business owners.
Because, okay, you're going to close all the liquor stores, you're going to shut it down earlier, but it's going to be in a way so you can continue to buy alcohol from other sources.
But some residents welcome the change.
This is our town, this is our front yard. Anything we can do to make crime less, to get the guns off our street, the drugs off our street, that's a good thing.
The Miami Beach police force has about 400 officers, but thousands of visitors came for spring break last year. This year, there will be more county and state officers on these streets, too. Nora?
They are getting ready. Manny Bajorquez, thank you. Mass shooting survivors are speaking out on gun reform. That's our in-depth report next. The tragedy in Kansas City has reignited the discussion about gun control in America. Survivors of some of the most high-profile mass shootings in recent years are calling for a new federal assault weapons ban after the first one expired 20 years ago. CBS's Nicole Skenga has our in-depth report.
The rapid firing of bullets from a high-powered weapon.
Michael Anderson was pouring a drink at Club Q when shots rang out.
That's a sound you'll never get out of your head.
The only surviving bartender from that Colorado Springs mass shooting.
How many surgeries have you had?
You know, I should probably count over a dozen.
Natalie Grummett was shot in the face during the Las Vegas massacre, shattering her jawbone.
I wake up in pain and I go to bed in pain, and emotional recovery is just as challenging.
Melissa Alexander is a gun owner and Republican.
I want to be a voice for that group of people that sometimes I don't think you hear from.
She's also the mother of a 9-year-old survivor of last year's Nashville school shooting.
The more these types of tragedies happen, the more people will be activated. There's going to be an inflection point. Like, we can't go on like this as a society.
You know, that inflection point for me is not going to bring my mother back.
Gurnell Whitfield Jr.'s 86-year-old mother, Ruth Whitfield, was murdered in the racially motivated shooting at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York.
This is unconscionable.
Michael Bennett, nice to see you.
Now, fed up with gridlock, they're meeting with lawmakers to rally support for the Go Safe Act.
Guns are fine, but there's a responsibility here.
The legislation, sponsored by Senator Martin Heinrich, effectively bans some semi-automatic firearms and large-capacity magazines.
I really wanted to get at the mechanisms, the specific mechanisms that make some of these weapons so dangerous.
The weapons behind 9 of the 10 deadliest shootings since 2016. It's backed by survivors and March 4th, a nonpartisan organization with a single mission of reinstating the ban. Between 2015 and 2022, mass shootings carried out with assault weapons left an average of nearly 6 times as many people shot.
You have to start somewhere.
It starts here.
And
it starts with us.
Yeah, it's a step, yeah.
DC should take notes because we're all very different from different parts of this country, but we're here united on this.
Absolutely.
And eventually we will get the change we need and deserve.
United in their mission to prevent future tragedies. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Washington.
Our new series, Heart of America, is next with college basketball sensation Caitlin Clark. Finally, tonight, our new series, Heart of America. This is when we highlight the women, men, and moments that inspire and provide hope from every corner of the country. Tonight, we celebrate college basketball superstar Caitlin Clark. The Iowa point guard has just broken the NCAA women's all-time scoring record in tonight's game between her Hawkeyes and the Michigan Wolverines. Clark is already the first player in NCAA history, women's or men's, with more than 3,000 points and 1,000 assists. But it's her impact off the court that matters most. She is changing the face of women's sports by selling out stadiums and inspiring young girls and young boys who swarm her for autographs and photos and dream of being just like her. The incredible Caitlin Clark, tonight's Heart of America. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Norah O'Donnell. Good night.